Or my microphone's working now. Oh, that's embarrassing. That's okay. There we go. Microphone's working. I just noticed my mixer, my microphone gave out, and I don't know when that happened. That's uncomfortable. Oh well. Yeesh. Okay. Well, at least it's working now. We'll save that. Shoot. I guess I better re-offer my intro because I'll probably have to edit it. Okay. Yeah. Well, in case I have to re-edit, it is Friday, February 12th, 2021. I'm Enviroboy, and I'm a half hour into my stream, and I only just now noticed that my microphone was not picking up audio like it was supposed to be. I'm so bad at this. I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what I'm doing for any of it. So, well, we'll edit it if we need to. Up until this point, at this point, I have been sitting here um, filling out, just finishing up our map for the pirate ship, the shipwreck beach. Whoops, I can do like a quick tour. We've thrown some random broken barrels and stuff around just for people to use like as like half cover and stuff, and for people to sort of give some visual striking image. We roughed up our shoreline here so it looks a little less like linear and weird. Added some driftwood chunks, and we added ourselves a bit of a tree line that leads into the forest up above. So we have, excuse me, we have a map, and like I pretty much just finished going through the process. So the first half hour here was me going through and and working on all of this. So golly, I feel silly. I feel like a silly boy having just spent a half hour, probably a full half hour without any sort of audio. That's goofy of me. But it doesn't matter. We got here. So I'm going to save this. Yep, we'll save that. And then we're going to export it as a JPEG. Um, I like adding the coordinates. The only thing I wish is that it would, for those coordinates, I wish it would. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Just to make it, I guess I have to be aware of that. I wish it wasn't doing that. I wish I could expand it more beyond. Why won't it let me do that? It's set at 36 by 25. I wish I could. There's got to be a way. I'm sure there's got to be a way. I guess I'm just gonna hotwire it, and I'll just have to keep in mind from now on that the let's see here. We'll just go ahead and hold on. Where's my palette here? We'll just do some sand. We'll go ahead. Whoops. We're gonna go ahead and do a little extra here, and then one extra going. And we're just gonna do it that way. I'm just gonna do that to sort of force the issue and force it to do that. I'll have to keep that in mind just for the sake of Roll20 and having it actually be the size, because I designed a map to be used. um, and so I gotta just remember to put some extra. And maybe what I can start doing is just having like a standard black border or something that I add. But now that should take, that brings us to where I want, because I like having that grid there. Why is this thing being so goofy here? Okay, there we go. All right, so that's about the size that I want. 24. Because it adds that one. 24 by. Let's see here. 26, 27, 28, 29. Well, because yeah, that. So if we're not counting that one, playable area 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So it's when it's counting that one, 36. So okay, that's acceptable to me, I guess. Playable area, because that gives us a playable area of 24 by 35, and that's, I mean, it's fine. I don't know why I'm sitting here fussing about it. That's perfectly fine. And I'm gonna create it as a JPEG, I think. I don't know. I don't know enough about the differences between the two to know which one I should be doing and which one I shouldn't be doing. Quite frankly, we'll go ahead and do a JPEG. And I always make them for the sake of Roll20 because that's what I use. Just waiting for that. There we go. Shipwreck Beach player final. Alright. So we save that, and I always just make sure to signify that it's the player final. That's the one that's player friendly. Players can view that one without any issues. I'm just going to go ahead and save the editable file here, the Dungeon Painter Studio file, so that we can use it later. And now we'll pull this up, and so what I'm going to do is insert pictures here. Let's see here. Is it going to take us? I want to go to. Well, you know what we're going to do? I don't know that I want to do it that way. Yeah, we'll do it as a picture, and we'll just see if it'll work. If I go to, where's Zaoria? World Atlas I4 Shipwreck Beach player final insert. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I've got a copy of the map too. That's just right here, goes with it. So that whoops. Cheezo Pizza. Now I'm like thinking of everything in terms of how how it's organized in frickin' Dungeon Painter Studio. Alright, hold on. I'm just gonna slide this down here. Put that just right there, and we're gonna make it nice and pretty big here so we can easily see it. So there we go. So there's our map, and then you kind of go down, and you'll have to do it that way a bit. But this way, now we've got the map just right there to kind of look at. And as a DM, this makes it easier for me because I've got it now accessible to my notes, so that way I don't have to bounce between screens, you know, trying to make sense of stuff. Like I've got it all pulled up right here on one screen. A lot of times I'll actually, like, I've got my main screen right here in front of me that I'm working with, and then my backup screen is over here to the side. And a lot of times I'll pull up, actually I'll have Roll20 on the side screen, so that way I can have my notes right here. So while I'm looking at my notes and stuff, it still looks like I'm connecting, and I can glance down if I've got like a script or something, and glance down, and then when it comes to actually doing the battles, I can do that kind of stuff, and then have my notes here. That's a bit easier to see. So I find that that's actually a bit more helpful. But that's 100% preference and not really anything to do with writing. So there we go. But there we go. That gives us sort of what that's pretty much everything for the Shipwreck Beach, which I'm excited about. I'm happy about that. I like that we've got that done, because that's going to be the next thing that I use for one of my groups. The other group is really easy to handle, and I don't have any prep work that I need to do for them right now, because they're going through the Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign module is what we're doing, and I have in a lot of ways rolled that into my world, just so that way, you know, not for the sake of trying to claim credit for it, but for the sake of setting it up so that way if they want to keep playing beyond that or take a break from the module, they don't have to create new characters and come up with new stories. I can just toss them some other stuff that exists in my world, and they can go with it, and we're good to go. So that's, and the only reason I say that is just so that way everyone understands why I'm constantly doing work for the pirate ship group, and that's because they are like the pirates. They're 100% homebrew. So I brought us back here to this screen. So now we got to think about what we want to do next. So I had originally thought that I was just going to go ahead and work on the old manor, because that's where I'm going to put a lot of the wealth of this area, and that's where the boss of this area is going to be. But I actually kind of want to just work it in order. So I kind of want to work on the Pirate Cove, because I've been thinking about it, and I think that's going to be the most sensible place for them, because the whole thing that I'm going to do with the players, where I'm going to bring them in, is one of the characters was sort of marooned by a crewmate on a smuggling ship. The crewmate sort of betrayed the crew, caused a mutiny, and left the player character along with a bunch of other individuals from his backstory. He left them all just kind of stranded. And so there's sort of like a vengeance arc going on with that one. And so the whole thing that's going to bring them to this island is that one of the crew members that was marooned alongside the player character is going to say, hey, I got a lead on the guy who betrayed us. Last I heard, he's somewhere on this island. Do you want to go check it out? He's of course going to say yes, and I think the thing that's going to really encourage everyone is it's going to be their chance to get on a boat, and so they're going to make their characters be all like, yeah, we're finally going to go on a pirate ship. Right? That's what they're going to do. I know that's what they're going to do. Because people are predictable, and that's not, I don't mean that like to lambast anyone. That's just, people that I know what their interests are, and I know they're going to pursue their interests. That's obvious. It's a given. So they're going to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, like, they're going to, the way it works, with the currents and everything, they're pretty much going to be forced to make land on the shipwreck beach there. So they're going to have to explore that. And that's going to work out well because it will sort of give them, it's going to handhold them into meeting some of the NPCs on this island. And they're going to interact with them, and then the NPCs on this island will be able to say, hey, or like, they'll be able to give information that it's like, yeah, we saw another ship that came in and somehow managed to navigate the currents well enough that they went into the hidden area on the north part of the island, the Pirate Cove. And so they can go in there, and I'm thinking I'm going to just kind of force their hand a little bit just to give them a lot of stuff to play and make it not too easy. Is I'm going to force their hand and make them go, they'll go check out the Pirate Cove, and what they'll find is that the Pirate Cove is connected to the abandoned mine, and that the guy, like, they made landfall on the on the cove, and then decided to move inland and sort of hide out in the abandoned mine, is what they're gonna do. Gosh, I apologize for like consuming as many beverages as I am on the stream right now. I'm gonna be drinking a lot. I have had a physically demanding day. I pushed myself at the gym this morning, and then I did some rock climbing this afternoon, and so I am beat, tired, my hands hurt, and I'm very dehydrated, and I'm just trying to like gradually rehydrate myself. Get some of them electrolytes. This is what plants crave. And that one's not even really about hydration. That one's just about caffeine, so I don't fall asleep at like 8 o'clock here, which is a very real risk. Like, let's be real. I'm beat. But yeah, at any rate, let's go ahead and make ourselves a Pirate Cove. So with my writing format, we're going to go to, oops, not page formatting. We're going to go to adventure template here. We're just going to copy that. Come over to Shipwreck Beach. Just Control V, add that in there. There we go. So there's a template, makes it real easy to fill everything out. So this one, we're going to call this one Pirate Cove Level 2. Now, just to make sure that it's clear, um, and people understand methodology here, this say level 2, that doesn't mean that like there's nothing of value there for groups that aren't level 2 and that I'm not going to provide it. Everything in my world is always accessible by every player of every level. That's what I do in my world. And I warn people about that because I say you're going to have to do some thinking and planning when you're playing in this world, because if you don't, you could find yourself at level 2 in an area that was designed for level 20. If you decide to just do things willy-nilly. Like I always tell them, I will give you feeds, I will give you leads that will like point you in directions of, you know, where is an appropriate place for your group to go. And additionally, as long as they do their research, I will make sure that they, as characters, learn when there's a place that is just beyond their skill level and they really should not be going. I will always give them that information. I will never let players walk into a very dangerous situation without them at least knowing that dangerous situation. If they want to ignore any warnings, sorry, I'm lotioning up my hands because rock climbing use a lot of chalk, and it dries my hands out, and in the winter that just makes it even worse. It's a nightmare how cracked and disgusting and painful my hands are sometimes. Like I always have cracks in the skin on my hands, like deep. Like we're like talking deep fissures too. We're not talking like little. Oh, it's a little flaky. Like I have this one on my thumb right here, on this poor little thumb. It's like right at the base of the nail bed. It's a crack that's like it's deep enough that you wonder how I have skin that deep. It's like, oh gosh, it's so bad, and they hurt because they're on your hands, which are constantly emotional. So you're constantly pulling them apart. It's like when you get a paper cut on the webbing, right? And it's like every time you move your hand, it's like, and it hurts. You know, so I apologize for lotioning up. It smells good though. Can you imagine? Just sat here like some 4-year-old just sniffing my hands. Did anyone else do that as a kid? I was never a hand sniffer, but I knew friends that were. I can still remember having friends in grade school that were hand sniffers. It was the weirdest thing, even to me as a kid. I was super weirded out by it. I mean, not to say that I didn't do my own weird, bizarro things when I was a child. Everyone does. Kids are freaking weird, man. No reason to ever be ashamed of the crappy or the silly stuff you do as a kid. As long as you don't keep doing it as an adult. That goes for everything. I'm gonna have a little bit of personal philosophy break just for a minute here and say one of the beautiful things about growing up is that you learn as an adult that there is an inherent sense of forgiveness about whatever dumbass shit you did as a kid, so long as you stop being that way when you become an adult. If you still do the stupid idiot things you did as a teenager, people will hold all of that history against you. But if you sort of get to be an adult and you're like, yeah, I was a bit of an asshole in high school, then people are willing to be like, hey, it's cool. Everyone was an asshole in high school. You know, it's like middle school is the same thing. One of the most beautiful things about growing up. It's one of the things that I consistently am thankful for having grown up. Because when I think about it, I was overall a pretty good kid, all things considered. You know, I didn't get myself involved in drugs and alcohol. I never really got in trouble. I got good grades. I was a good kid. But I was also a little asshole. The amount of disrespect that me as a teenager I would offer adults is, looking back on it, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm a little embarrassed about how much shade I would throw superiors as a kid. Like I thought I was so cool as a kid. You know, and it's like now as an adult, the fact that I'm willing to admit that and I'm willing to own up to like, yeah, I was a little fart. Um, you know, there's this beautiful thing where people are generally speaking, they're like, yeah, that's okay. Everyone was terrible in high school. Just don't be like that anymore. And it's like one of the most liberating things. Anyway, that philosophy done. Let's go ahead and work on another level here. Okay, so again, we're starting the process, just going through it, just going through the process, and this is why I love that I've taken the time to fill out this template because it's just nice to be able to just like breathe and let things be as they are, let things go. So, or let it move and not have to think about what all stuff I have to go. It's all right there. I just got to fill it out. I don't have to stress about it. I can just fill it out. I can, like, it helps structure my ideas as they flow through my head. Because when I've got a lot of ideas but I don't have a structure for it, for me, I tend to end up having a very disjointed and not useful thing that I've written out. And so I prefer to have this template and be able to work with it. So intended player level. So the intended player level. I'm gonna add a little detail. I don't think I wrote this in the last one. It doesn't really matter because I, for my own mindset, know that. But I'm gonna put it there just to make sure it's clear for ever if I ever share this anything. Intended player level. 5 players at level 2. Normally I would just do, say, like level 2. But I'm going to specify that these are set to 5 players at level 2. I always set mine to 5 players because for me personally, when I'm running a game, I set the cap at 6 players, and I try to make sure there's always at least 4 players. I'll accept 3, but for me to really have a game that I want to, that I feel compelled to lead and put the effort in, I want 4 to 6 players within that range. And so if I set it to level 5, if we've got 4 players, it'll be a little more challenging but still doable. And if we have 6 players, it'll be pretty easy, but not so easy that they wonder what's even the point. And if you set it at 5 players, it'll be just right. Just, chef's kiss. I don't know. I'm not that good. I don't know if I've produced anything that I feel chef's kiss about at the end. Not like writing wise. I'm proud of the stuff that I write, but I don't know if I've written anything that I'm like, this is my magnum opus here. Like I haven't achieved that, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if I'll ever personally achieve that. Like I think a lot about how can I tell if I'm doing well by my own standards. And the way I always just think about it to myself is, like, I feel like my personal barometer for am I writing something that's good, is this worth pursuing, is if I enjoy going back through and rereading what I've written. It's a little different for writing this stuff. You don't just like sit there and read it like a novel, but it's like, for me, if I pull up this and I'm looking through and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's a good enemy set. If I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's a cool map. This would be fun to play in. If I'm looking through it and I think like, man, I want to play this. I want to play this. That's my barometer. That's my sort of mindset saying like, yeah, okay, we've got a good direction. We've got good bearings here. We can keep going with this. And that's kind of how I tell, and that's why, like, I have tried to dabble in writing a book, and I intend to sort of get more involved in writing fiction one of these days. But I struggle with finding my voice, and so I find myself when I'm rereading stuff that I've written, I a lot of times find myself just not being into it, and that's how I can tell that I haven't really written what I have in my mind, because I feel like I have great ideas. I love my own ideas, almost as much as I love sniffing my own farts. It sounds so pretentious to say that, but no, it's true. I have a lot of, not the fart part. That's not true. The enjoying my own ideas. That's the true part. I feel good about the ideas that I come up with for writing, but I'm not excellent at narratively putting them down. In this format, I can do it because it's not required to be a narrative. I just have to put basically things that jog my memory and keep me on track, so that way I can work with other people and riff, which makes it good, which makes it fun. But I don't know. Anyway, that's a long rant. It's a ramble and it's getting away. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at the time. It's about 8 o'clock. I want to take my usual little potty break here. And yeah, we'll be back in like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Just so I can, sort of stretch out a little bit because my legs are so sore. We'll do that and we'll come back. We'll dig into the Pirate Cove here. So yeah, yeah. Anyone who's all people who are not watching right now, because I have like nobody watching the stream as far as I can tell. For all 0 people watching, we'll be back in like 5 minutes. Hooray! right, we're back in. Spent a couple minutes while I was out trying to see about, because I'm new to this streaming thing. I don't know what on earth I'm doing, but I know that music world is very touchy about what you are and are not allowed to do with music. And like their rules are so specific sometimes it feels like I'm not even allowed to listen to music that artists put out. And it's crazy because I think most artists wouldn't feel that way about their own stuff, but are sort of obligated to feel that way because of record labels being just absolutely ridiculous. So, at any rate, I was looking up to see what sorts of resources we could find for some music to go on during these writing streams, just to have something chill in the background. I'm wondering if like, I'd be allowed. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. It'd be cool if I was allowed to just do like the lo-fi hip hop beats, uh, YouTube channel or something like that. If I could just have that going in the background, I don't know if that would be allowed or not. And obviously, I don't want to get in trouble. I just don't know the rules about that. So I'm looking into it because I feel like it would help the vibe here if we just had some chill tunes in the background. Um, as much as I love listening to the music that I love on Spotify, one, it's obviously not gonna. That stuff is definitely gonna be out when it comes to copyright rules. The other thing too is I don't want it to be about me getting distracted and jamming out to all my favorite songs. I'd rather just have some like cool, chill background ambiance going on. So I'm gonna keep looking at that. That's a project for the future, I suppose. All right. So let's see here. So we're resuming this. So number of room sets is sort of a tricky one for me. Um, for intense dungeons, I like the idea of adding a couple different sets of rooms so it's not always just one and done level of stuff going on. But sometimes I struggle with trying to figure out exactly how many layers to do for all of that kind of stuff. So like, I've toyed with the idea of having it be based on sort of the level, but I don't. It's hard to think about how exactly I would do that kind of stuff, considering it, like it, so hold on, I think it'll be easier to explain what my struggle is if I pull up our full-on Maparoo here. Um, I just can in the meanwhile see all the stuff desktop and find some good material for making fun of me. I don't think I have anything in there that's worth ridicule, but hell if I know, who's a good judge of that for their own selves. So the struggle that I have is like my initial idea is like the number. Oh man, I've got the hiccups. Boy, oh boy, I am just really on top of it today. My original idea for how many sets a dungeon should have would be based on the difficulty. But the fact is, I have difficulty, difficulty in the sense of, if we go back here, as soon as I left, if we go back here and go to, no consistency guidelines here. So levels of difficulty, we have safe areas, which are where the big cities are. And we have starting out areas, which is like a place next to a safe, exploring, which is out further, and then world weary out further, heroes out further, and then demigods. That's for like if players want to do some sort of homebrew rules for like doing beyond level 20 or something like that. That's something that I'll allow or I sort of plan on including. But that would mean we have like here would have one, and everything here would have like maybe one layer, and then two layers, four, five, right? Is the idea. That's not a terrible idea, except that it would be nice if every region had some dungeons that were tiny and some dungeons that were more extensive. So then I started thinking, well, maybe we can do it based on the level, based on like the level that it's designed for, and stagger it from what these would be. So it's like levels 1 through 3 have one layer, levels 4 through 6 have two, and so on and so forth until we get to level 20. Right, but then that'll end up with us having some pretty massive dungeons, and I guess that's not the worst thing. I mean, when we get to level 20, people probably want something that's pretty extreme and intense. I guess that doesn't have to be the worst thing. So maybe I should stick with that plan, and maybe I could even make it more intense. I say I don't want to do that though, because I feel like that pigeonholes, when you get up to these areas that are further away, right, then it's like everything they do is going to be, like if we're talking about a group that meets, hold on, I can see a hair on my mic. I got it. It's really hard to keep that perspective when it's down here, just barely within my periphery. Sorry, distracted. Ooh, shiny. Um, so yeah, like I don't know that I want to force players, because if you're playing once a month and you have a dungeon that has like 10 layers to it, I mean they're going to be stuck in that for a year, in one dungeon for a year. I don't I don't know that I want to force players to commit to that. You know, because personally I would be down to play once a week, and in fact I try to with my two groups, stagger them so each plays every other week, which is more agreeable to each of them, to each of those groups. But I like playing weekly. I'm totally down for that because I'm sad and alone and I don't have anything else going on in my life, so I might as well, right? Um, so I don't know. It's a tough one for me to think about. Because then the other idea is it could just be, you know, 1 through 5 layers in each section. So it's like, in this part of the map that we're in, if we're going back here, so in I4, we have level 1 has 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers. Um, and that's not the worst idea, I don't think. The problem is if you do that, especially with the early on ones, I don't want them to like explore 3 dungeons in 3 areas and suddenly already be at level 7 because they have had so many opportunities to get lots of experience. I don't want to I don't want to rush it too much for the sake, because I don't want there to be I don't want them to not be able to have an actual intriguing, compelling storyline to play through. So it's hard. So that just kind of leads me back to, I guess, what I kind of end up on is, that staggering idea where it's like levels 1 through 3 will have 1 layer, or 4 through 6 will have two, 7 through 9, 3, and so on and so forth. Um, so that way it's like there is an increase there, but it's not at such a rate that they're going to, end up, because that gives us at level 20. What does that put us at? Like at level 20, that puts it like 6 or 7, which is perfectly, like that I think is perfectly reasonable. 60 to 70 rooms for like a magnum opus going through the, like that's like we're getting on to like the oh, I'm blanking on it. The mad wizard, the mad lich or whatever, the dungeon of the mad lich or whatever they call it, that one. You know the one I'm talking about. Like that's when you're getting onto those like really extreme ones, and I don't think there's a problem with that. I think that's really fun for when they're level 20. They sort of plan at that point in time. They're planning out and they're doing something massive, big, world changing, um, and I think that would be great. I think that would be just fine to pursue. I feel like I'm looking at my camera and I'm off center. Let me mess with my thing really quickly here. Um, yeah, I feel like I've just set myself a little off center today. Oops, wrong way. Hold on. There. Yeah. Yeah. That's better. Yeah, that's better. Hold up. Let me just. Yeah. Okay, that's better. Sorry, I'm obsessing. I needed to get it just right. Just right. Okay. So yeah, I think that's maybe okay. Let me see here. I'm gonna do level 1. And we're just gonna do 1 room set. And I'm just gonna do this here, so that way it's included. 1, 2, 3. Now this one is going to have 2 room sets. 1, 2. Oops. I want to put a space there because I'm obsessive about how it looks. 3. There we go. There we go. Right. And so now I go here. I'm gonna make it 3. And we're gonna copy it. And we're gonna come here. We're gonna go down. We're gonna space, paste, space, paste, space, and paste. So then we're gonna do 4 room sets. That's right. Copy that. And space and paste. And space and paste. And space and paste. I wonder how long that's gonna last before people get super irritated with it. Alright, we're gonna change that to 5 room sets. Oops. Oh my goodness gracious. There we go. Copy that. 2, and then 3, and then we just do our 1 more here. For the sake of being able to copy or change to 6 room sets here. Copy that. Paste that 2. Paste that 3. And then, yeah, and then we'll be 7 for level 19 and 20. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that I'm overall comfortable with holding that formula, I think. And I just received a text that I think I have to look at because it might be about my doctor's appointment tomorrow. It is about my doctor's appointment tomorrow. To confirm, text yes. Yes. Confirm. See if they say anything else. Appointment confirmed. Complete e-check-in. Have ID. Let me check that. I'm just gonna check this e-check-in. I gotta do this. I can't dawdle on this one. I gotta make sure it's this. Because I am obsessed with making sure this doctor's appointment, because this is my doctor's appointment to get my 2nd dose of COVID vaccine. I'm very fortunate that I can get my COVID vaccine early like this, and I don't want to goof that up. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me just check this. I don't think. Okay, I don't think they actually need me to do anything right now. God, I'm obsessed. Okay, I'll do the e-check-in at the end of our stream. We've only got like a half hour on the stream left. And so after that I can go online like on an actual computer, and they've got their whole like online doctor's chart system in place, and I'm sure I can do it on through there. That'll be more sensible than trying to follow the mobile links for that kind of stuff. So, okay. Anyway, we're working on it. So yeah, I think that's good. I think that offers some balance. It'll make it feel to players a bit more randomized and a bit less systematic that way. If they're not always thinking like, okay, well, we're gonna go to the 2-level dungeon now, we're gonna go to the 4-level dungeon now, right? It's like it mixes it up, and they don't necessarily always know. But yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So if we're working on, so it's only gonna be 1 room set for the Pirate Cove then. So number of room sets, 1. Gosh dang it, I have unbolded this multiple times. 1 set. Excuse me. Let's see here. Man, I am belchy right now. Holy crap, I apologize. It's just unbecoming of me. Current overlord of this. So I gotta think about this one. So the Pirate Cove area, I gotta think about what kind of enemies I want there to be in here. Because the fact is it's not the guys that they're after. I'm gonna have them have sort of left and went to that abandoned mine. Like there's gonna be, I'm gonna put some sort of just like ore deposit, and that's like, maybe some sort of like iron ore deposit or something like that. That's just like that's what the nature of the island is. Like that's what islands are, just like Earth. Largely from volcanic sources bubbling up through the oceans and stuff over time. So but I haven't really decided. So it's gonna do something like that, and then in that dungeon is where they're going to encounter the one guy. But even then, I want to keep that separate from what this is because that's specific to the players and not the map. And I want this map to be usable and sensible for anyone of any game that plays through this area. So I have to think about how do I want to do this. So what what I'm gonna do? What we're just gonna do is we're going to do so my default when I'm in this scenario and I'm struggling to come up with exactly what I want to do for one factor or another is I will go onto this fabulous website. I'm not advertising for them. I've not been sponsored, but I can just straight up vouch for them and say this is a wonderful tool. Anyone who's into D&D ought to at least have a free subscription to D&D Beyond. It is such an amazingly helpful tool in so many ways, especially for me as a DM. A lot of their DM tools that they're working on developing now are just absolutely incredible. So, Pirate Cove. We're just gonna go ahead and do environment, and we're gonna set it to coastal. We're gonna filter the monsters. That's all I'm gonna filter at this moment. Adult blue dragon, done. That's it. That's it right there. That's it. They're just gonna at level 2. They're gonna have the dragon. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to sort them by challenge rating. And then I just want to double check here. I'm just going to look at my challenge level. So level 2. So the bosses are going to be a challenge rating of 2. Beautiful. Can work with that. So I want to move along here. Let's see here. Challenge range 2 to 2. Filter monsters. I want to look at the coastal level 2s. Bandit Captain, Snooze Fest, Bazoika, Carrion Ogre, Cinderhild. What is this? Large Giant, Lawful Evil. Not the worst idea. Ooh, a Griffin. Could be an interesting situation. But I don't know if a Griffin would hang out in a cave per se. A Marrow, what are we looking at? Ooh, see now this would be cool. That would work. That would work. Like have the cove. Okay, so here we go. So the cove could be set up so that it is largely like a water river system that kind of goes through the cave. Like the water has sort of carved out in the cave. And so it's like, because I'm thinking more of a cave than a cove. I'm just calling it Pirate Cove because it sounds good. I don't even know. What's the explicit definition of a cove? Cove definition. Just what is a cove? What do they call it? A cove is a small type of bay or coastal inlet. Coves usually have narrow, restricted entrances, are often circular or oval, and are often situated within a larger bay. Small, narrow, sheltered bays, inlets, creeks, or recesses in a coast are often considered coves. Yeah, so that's kind of what I had in mind. So I'm thinking like a cove that leads into a cave is sort of what I have in mind. Like I've got a strong Goonies vibe going on here in my brain space about what it looks like. We could just throw an ogre at him. No, I don't like that. Where they go in and they see the pirate ship. Like I cannot express enough how related like how similar and how strong that perception is in my mind about how I want to do it. And so I there's a lot of good options here. A sea hag would be kind of fun. So we've got the sea hag. I'm kind of going between the sea hag and the marrow, because I have sort of in my brain now what I'm thinking of is the nature of the caves here, or that it's like it's a cove that leads, like the water trickles into the island, and you have a network of water lines. And I'm thinking it would be really cool because you could have it so that the water lines don't match up with the earth lines per se. Okay. I kind of want to map this out. I kind of want to map this idea that I'm working with out first before I commit to doing it as to writing things out. But I'm thinking if we do that, there can be pools dotted throughout the dungeon, and the pools are where like the marrow lives. Hold on, let's do 0 to 2 here. Sort by CR, of course. Let me see here, giant crabs. Yeah, because we could do like the merfolk. Yeah, okay, we could put some merfolk in there. And that's what it could be inhabited by, is merfolk. And they're like, I don't know, like it's, ooh, a Sahagwin wouldn't be the worst idea either. He could be like some sort of corrupted bodyguard. No, I'm not feeling the harpies. Sea spawn, what's a sea spawn look like? Sea spawns could be usable. And there's our marrow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling marrow, merfolk. Hold on, marrow, merfolk. What all do I need here? Hold on. I'm getting a brain blast going on here. Am I getting copyright struck for that? Can I quote Jimmy Neutron? Am I allowed to do that? I'm doing it anyway, but okay. So hold on. For this level, we need challenge levels. Level 2. You need a 0, an eighth, a quarter, and a 2. 0, eighth, quarter, 2. So pirate folks. So the boss. I'm gonna do a marrow. CR2. I'm gonna write down the XP note too, because I always need that, and I never have it. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this one. Where's our marrow? Is it 5 or 4? It's gonna be in 4. The sea hag is cool, but I am liking the idea of the marrow more. Yeah. Yeah. 450 XP. To 450 XP for my math and stuff. So leaders, so we needed 0, 1/8, 1/4, and 2. So let's go back down. So there's our 2. Let's just stop it at 1/4, filter monsters. That's still going to give us our merfolk, right? Gosh dang it, why does it... Because this is alphabetically. That's not unreasonable, but it's bothering me. I don't know if we're going to be able to use our merfolk. Oh, no, we can. They're the 1/8. They're the 1/8. Okay, what's the quarter? Pseudo dragon, giant wolf, spider, tribal warrior, pteranodon. What else do we got for a quarter? Turtle. I don't have the options I was hoping to have for quarter. Okay, so quarter, I'm thinking we can have turtles, and they can be enslaved or corrupted turtles, and we could just do it that way. Nothing wrong with that. Let's call them enslaved. Let's hear enslaved slash. Let's hear. Let's do turtle enslaved. Yeah, we'll do that. So they're enslaved turtles you know, because the turtles will often travel through the seas, and so I'm thinking if I set the turtles up as our dudes here. Shoot, I just shifted my chair. Now I'm not center again. I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. I'm sorry. I gotta sit here and mess with it and fix it. I gotta get it. I can't. I just can't. I need it. Okay. Okay. Turtles. So yeah. So the turtles are nomadic and they're wandering, and there are some turtles that travel the seas, and so I can definitely see it as being something that happens where some merfolk have captured some turtles, because turtles are pretty long lived too. So they've captured the turtles and forced them to be their slaves. Um, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll go ahead and do that. One CR 1/4. What's the X for 1/4 again? You'd think I'd have this memorized as it comes up for me. Show me their stats. Show me what you got. 50 XP. That's like nothing, man. 50 XP. 50 XP. Soldiers, that's where the merfolk are coming into play. I just need to pull up their stats so I can record some stuff properly for them. I think I saw them on this page. I did. Merfolk. That's a cool drawing. I dig that. Let's open up the merfolk here. What are they at? 25 XP? Yeah, 25 XP for 1/8. 1/8. CR 1/8. Sorry, CR1/8. 50 or 25 XP. 25 XP. And then I gotta just come up with something that's gonna be fun fodder for them. It might just be like crabs again or something like that. Just fucking throw crabs at them. I don't know. What else am I supposed to do? I mean, honestly, yeah. Yeah, we'll just throw crabs at them. Why not? Crab. They got crabs. It's 10 XP, right? Yeah, 10 XP. Crabs, so... Fodder. Crab. CR0. 10 XP. Okay. So there we go. So now... Okay, so now here's where we can start having some fun with some stuff here. We have our races. These are all of the playable enlightened races. And the reason that I'm thinking about this is because I'm over here, I'm looking at our merfolk and our marrows, and I'm wondering if there's some sort of information we could sort of put together about history of these creatures and sort of put together a consistent narrative of what their mentality and behavior would be at any given time. Because I see here we have, you know, when I'm thinking about what we've set up here for marrow, let's go ahead and nix that and nix that. Filter monsters. There's our marrow. So looking at the marrow, transformed merfolk. Okay, so they've already got some stuff here. Marrow haunt coastal waters, preying on fisherfolk, merfolk, and any other edible creature that crosses their path. These savage monsters snatch and devour unweary prey, like drowned corpses, back to their underwater grottos to feed. Transformed merfolk. Long ago, a tribe of merfolk found an idol of Demogorgon at the bottom of the sea. Not knowing what it was, they brought the artifact to their king. Everyone who touched the idol became afflicted with madness, including the king, who declared that a sacrificial ritual be performed to open a gateway to the abyss. That's going from 0 to 100 pretty quick right there, I'll tell you what. Yikes. The merfolk remained there for generations, fighting for their lives as the abyss warped them completely, transforming them into hulking evil monstrosities. Thus, the first Merrow were born. I'm not opposed to that. Although in my world, the thing is I don't think with my world, merfolk. Let me just see what kind of history they've provided for merfolk. Aquatic humanoids with the upper body of a human and lower body of a fish. Merfolk adorn their skin and scales with shell decorations. Merfolk tribes and kingdoms span the world, and their people are as varied in color, culture, and outlook as the human races of the surface. Landfolk and merfolk rarely meet except by chance, though star-eyed mariners tell tales of romance with these creatures along the shoals of faraway islands. Merfolk lack the materials and practical means to forge weapons beneath their waves, to write books and keep lore, or to shape stone and raise buildings and cities. As a result, most live in small hunter-gatherer tribes, each of which holds unique values and creeds. Only occasionally do merfolk unite under the rule of a single leader. They do so to face a common threat or to complete a conquest. Such unifications can be the beginning of undersea kingdoms with dynasties lasting hundreds of years. Okay, so when I'm thinking about my world here, okay, so there's one thing that I already know that I need to do here with this. So these are all the playable races. Um, and I have history for all of them, and like I've explained in some past streams, the idea of having sort of a planned out, written out, detailed history for each race has really everything to do with wanting to help provide players with the chance to create a backstory that fits within the lore of my world, so they can understand what their character's place is and feel like they belong in the world. Oh, that's too bad. That's gone, and I got 20 minutes left. But I want to be thirsty. I know I'm gonna be thirsty. Okay. Give me 30 seconds to run to my fridge and grab something. I'm gonna grab a beverage. I'll be back in just like 30 seconds. So stiff. Yes. I'm back. I'm returning triumphant with a sody pop. I don't even know if anyone can hear me right now. I'm just talking. My microphone is moving. Alright, I'm back. I made the long, arduous journey to my fridge. You probably saw my fridge door open in the background. I don't know why I insisted on doing that. Spices things up, makes it exciting. Alright, as I was discussing, all these player races are good, playable races, but that doesn't mean they're the only races that are interesting. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see, will it let me make subpage? Yes. Okay, so we can just do playable races, new page, and then we'll call it fringe races. Let's see here, races of some degree of enlightenment. That's the term that I use in my world for whether or not characters are, or a race is like a playable character. So it's like enlightenment is what happens. Like there's a process and it's slow, and in our world we would call it, like evolution, in which slowly over long, centuries of time, a species becomes intelligent or sentient. you kind of have to change it a little bit because we're talking about a magical world. Timelines are a little different. So I use the term enlightenment. An enlightened race is one that is a playable character race because it's a race that is capable of morals and societies such that we consider them like a modernized race with culture and everything. Doesn't necessarily mean they're always kind and intelligent. The ability to speak does not make one intelligent. All that jive. Um, but the idea is, like an enlightened race is one that is capable of existing in a mixed society. I guess is kind of what it comes down to. They don't have that sort of fight or flight species survival instinct that compels them to kill and make war with every other thing that looks at them. So it's like, and that's maybe a little unfair because there are plenty of non-enlightened things that are not aggressive, like cows. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's not that like they've gone above and beyond that animalistic instinct. And so these friend range races, when I say races of some degree of enlightenment, not considered capable of coexisting in mixed society, but can be interacted with safely under the right conditions is sort of what I'm thinking. So it's like, let's see here. Most should be approached with caution. Most would, sorry, should be should. That would be that it's not that would be should. It's that it should be should. Would be would. I don't know where I feel like there's a joke in there, but I feel like I'm just not getting there tonight. So we're trying to think about, fringe races here, and that's where our let's see here. I'm gonna do merfolk. Make subpage. Have I ever? Oh man, see now here's where I'm gonna start really getting wild and crazy with stuff. I haven't ever done a template for a race, have I? Section. Notes layout, content list, progress goal. Player character template. That's not what I want though. Oh boy. Oh boy. I gotta make a template. I gotta make a race template. It's gotta happen. I've gotta make it happen. Okay, but we're not gonna do it tonight. We've only got like 13 minutes left in this stream. So I'm gonna make a mental note. Maybe that's what we can do next time. Races. I'm going to see. We're gonna do another one right here. We're gonna do. Actually, wait. Hold on. Delete this. Delete that. I want to do insert page templates. And just page templates. So they're gonna throw up. Is that the one that I've been using? Yeah, that's the one that I've been using there. Okay, there we go. So we'll do that. That's beautiful. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. So instead, we're gonna call this race. It's kind of it's almost like a wiki. Race. What am I looking? Dossier almost. I don't know. We're gonna do race details template. All right, and we'll work on figuring that one out because I need to brainstorm a little bit on what exactly I want to put in a race thing. But I'm just gonna put a note here. Merfolk. Merfolk. Let's see here. Half fish, half people, all sexy sirens. I don't know. Let's see here. The merfolk were. Let's see. I'm gonna see. Before the unhinging, the merfolk were largely or widely widely considered by many of the enlightened races to be on the verge of obtaining enlightenment. Wow, apparently I can't spell any words. Obtaining enlightenment. Though still a very tribal race, the merfolk had been rapidly growing more cooperative with coastal cities. Coastal, yeah, it's not coastal, it's coastal. Coastal is like ribs. Because your intercostals are your muscles in between your ribs that help you go. I don't know what that was. Kind of coastal cities, and with ships traveling along common trade routes. Let's see here. Though the standard concept of coexisting is difficult for the aquatic merfolk, plans to invite tribes to join coastal cities along the shorelines and shipping yards were in place. However, the unhinging ruined everything as always. Due to their sensitivity to changes in water, and due to the large impacts the unhinging had on the state of the waters of Zaoria, nearly all merfolk societies were driven to a collective insanity. This has caused most merfolk to revert back to more primitive and tribal mindsets. They are largely aggressive, and protective. Oftentimes, they're largely aggressive, oftentimes attacking any ships that dare to venture into the wilds, sometimes even utilizing trickery and magic to trap sailors for use as slaves, slaves, or even, quote, pets. And we'll just leave that ambiguous in quotations. So this is a situation where it's like I say, in my world, I don't know if I've really described it all that much detailed, but my world is a dark, twisted, messed up world. I think it's more compelling if the world is like I like the world to feel more like Lord of the Rings, where it's like there are pockets of civilization, but going out in the world feels dangerous. Just traveling in the world feels dangerous. I don't like the nature of D&D to make it so that everything feels like a happy-go-lucky adventure, and that you're only ever going to encounter a dragon when you're like actively trying to hunt them. Like I like it to be a more Lord of the Rings-esque, dark, dangerous world. I like it to be like you can travel out, and some people do that. But if you do, buyer beware. It's dark, it's twisted. You're gonna be in trouble quickly. And sort of that's sort of why I came up with this idea of the unhinging, which was just sort of it's like if you imagine all of the planes, all of the different, mortal and elemental and philosophical planes existing as say layers in a jar, like layers of water and oil in a jar. The unhinging is basically like someone took that jar and just shook it up and caused everything to just sort of emulsify, and it resulted in all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. And it continues to do that while and so we're like 100 years afterwards, and in a lot of ways things have calmed down, but it's still very dark and twisted, because as the layers try to reseparate, they have to travel through one another. So you get periods of like just sort of random extreme activity in different regions and stuff. And so that's sort of what a lot of what I create are, is just sort of the convenient pockets of crazy that are happening within the time period. Um, and because of that, things are just really dark. It's really dangerous. There's a lot of corruption in the world, and that's just sort of how I write my world. And that's what I'm thinking I'm going to use the merfolk as. They're going to be a sort of a tragic story where they were quite peaceful. They were a beautiful race in a lot of ways, and we're going to see. And I'm creating all this on the spot. I have not thought about merfolk as a race in general until now, but like this is part of my writing process because now I'm thinking about it, and it's like I could see, if we're looking at this creature here, you can see even the way the artist rendered things here. There's a sense of almost elegance involved here, right? There's, they're a race that would be largely misunderstood, hard to interact with, and so hard to understand. But a race that once sort of that common ground, ground, get it? Because they live in the water. Once that common ground had been achieved, they are a beautiful race with their own culture. And view full image do. Oh, it just pulls it off there. I don't care about that. Um, and so it's going to be a tragic story where it's like they were so close to really being accepted in the world and being able to interact with the world, and then the unhinging completely reversed and undid that. And that's what I'm going to do. We've got a couple more minutes. I'll just do a quick little blurb. So that's like the darkness. I believe in a thing called love. Every time I say the darkness, I just think of that. And so I'm going to do Marrow as like a sub-race of merfolk. So a subset of the now corrupted merfolk. Marrow are ultra violent versions of merfolk. It is largely unknown, Known, unknown by the enlightened races exactly how the Marrow come to be. But it is known that the Marrow are the most dangerous of the merfolk. Of the merfolk that will be in, that can be in merfolk in we're just gonna say in most modern tribes. So this is where I take a lot of liberties, but I think that's the nature of sci-fi and fantasy. I think there's very little fantasy that is actually 100% original anymore. I think most fantasy builds off of sort of the building blocks, really, of ancient mythologies, right? Like that's where fantasy comes from. Ancient mythologies that have just been sort of changed for the sake of telling a story. So, yes, I'm borrowing from D&D lore, but I don't feel bad about taking that and changing it because D&D lore borrows from other things, which have probably borrowed from other things, which are probably borrowed from the weird fever dream from some caveman who ate an extra shroom that was just not the shroom he thought it was, and had some weird ass monkey brain stuff and woke up and pointed to water. Was like, and like talking about there being like some sort of merfolk in the caveman waters or something. I don't know. Like it just I don't. Point is, I don't feel bad about changing stuff here. So the marrow, I'm not gonna talk about that corruption. Instead, I'm gonna make. I think the marrow. I almost like the idea of them being sort of like the merfolk themselves employ some dark rituals, to sort of do like to keep with the Lord of the Rings thought process here. The marrow, it's almost like an urukai type of process where it's like the merfolk will maybe take a champion and like undergo some rituals for the sake of corrupting them even beyond what was originally planned, or what corrupting them beyond the standard race, so that way they can create sort of like a champion of sorts, just like a combat champion. Um, so yeah, the truth is that many merfolk tribes have learned the ways of some dark magic rituals in which a selected champion from the tribe, champion or multiple champions from the tribe, select a champion from the tribe, are transformed through magic into combat champions. These champions are kept almost as violent dogs on leashes, to be set upon travelers for the sake of capture, torture, and butchering. Butcher. How do you spell butcher? Butchering. Jeez. How often do you use the word butcher? Oof. That's a weird one. It's good. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I don't use the word butchering often enough to know how to spell it offhand. I'm not embarrassed about that. Okay. So we just got a little bit of background there. And that kind of informs the nature of what it is. So, like, the champion. So I think the leader of this one actually is just going to be, statistically, in terms of combat, a straight up merfolk. And the champion is going to be the boss that's sort of like held chained up. And I actually now have an idea of them. Like, the merfolk have created like a pen for this guy that through water he can't get out, but then by land the players can see and will have to fight him because he'll try and defend his turf. Um, but I'm going to ponder on that. And at this point in time, it is 5 after 9, which is my quitting time. Uh, so I'm going to call it a session here. Didn't appear to have anyone stopping by and watching live, but you know what? That is a-okay. Don't mind because I always have fun just sitting here talking about what I'm writing. Writing stuff and talking about it and sharing stuff. Because the other thing is too is I upload the replays here onto my YouTube channel. I think I've got it linked on my Twitch channel. I tried to have it linked on my Twitch channel, but I don't know what I'm doing. So who knows if it's actually there. But at any rate, the replays are there. So if people want to come here, I hope people, for these writing streams, I hope people sort of one day discover them and have fun using them as a way to sort of springboard their own creativity. I'm not in this writing D&D stuff and playing D&D to try and make money off of it. I don't really have much interest in copywriting my ideas because, as I described at one point in time, I take other ideas and change them all the time. I'm not in the business of trying to get rich off of doing this. I'm in the business of coming up with cool stuff to share with my friends and sharing that with anyone else who is interested so that they can share it with their friends. Because the fact is, this is just a fun hobby. It's a creative hobby, and I want to do everything I can to encourage people with it. So hopefully people will check out the replays and stuff like that. Although this one I'm going to have to edit because I remember I spent the first half hour maybe without my mic turned on accident. That's awkward. So there's like a half hour of me just going like, and there's no sound because I'm a stupid idiot. So at any rate, I still had fun. We got some cool ideas thought out. Made some progress. Truly finished off one dungeon, starting a new dungeon. It's good progress. It's good progress for writing. I dig it. It was a productive evening, and I'm having a good time. So, yeah, we're gonna sign off. Normally tomorrow would be a video game streaming day for me, but that is canceled. I will be out of town. Um, I'm getting my vaccine, and I've been safe enough, quarantining enough, that discussing with my parents, they're comfortable, I'm comfortable, we're all comfortable that it's safe enough, that to sort of celebrate me getting vaccinated, I'm going to go visit my parents. It has been a couple months since I've seen them, which means it's been a couple months since I've really seen anyone in person. So I'm itching just for some quiet family time. Just gonna be nice. I got some days off my day job, so yeah. So tomorrow, normally I'd be doing video game stream and discussing fights as they're happening, and not streaming because I'm not allowed to do that. Don't worry, Dana. I'm not gonna do that. Normally I'd be doing that, but it's not gonna happen tomorrow. I'm gonna be just enjoying some R&R. And then after that, the next stream would be writing stream on Monday, but that is also going to be canceled because I will at that time still be with my parents. Tuesday night is usually video game streaming. There's a chance I'll be back in time for that. Depends on how the day goes on Tuesday. Depends on when I get back home, when I finish whatever chores I'll have to do to catch up on having been gone for a couple days, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, possibly back on Tuesday. Definitely back for writing stream next Wednesday. So I'm going to update my menu on Twitch there, but just sort of getting that in case anyone comes here and sees the replay and things like, oh, I want to know what this guy's up to, and sees my schedule and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all of it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having fun with this. I'm still having fun. It's been over a week since I started my streaming stuff, and I don't know. I'm just having fun with it, even if it's just me sitting here talking out loud to no one. It's fun to kind of sit here and enjoy what I'm doing and knowing that I'm putting it out there so that if people want to come share the experience, they can. Because I'd be doing the same stuff even if there was no one here. So with that, anyone watching replays or anything, thank you for checking out what I'm working on. Go out, be good, spread goodness in the world, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a good Valentine's weekend. That's right, it's Valentine's. I don't think about that because I'm sad and alone. But it's a good Valentine's weekend. So if you have people that you're close with, be good to them and tell them that you care about them and you love them. You know, spread some love this holiday this holiday weekend. Make St. Valentine proud. Okay, I'm gonna actually end the stream now, for real though. All right, bye everybody.